Welcome to Learning Development and Success's presentation on writing multiple choice tests. Before we get started, we do want to tell you about the services and resources that are available to you through Learning Development and Success. Our goal is to support Western students in anything related to your learning. If you finish this presentation and have follow-up questions about writing multiple choice tests, please access any of our services for further questions, or if there are other areas of your learning that you would like to discuss or develop, we are here to help. We offer 3 course services. The Peer Assisted Learning Center, or PAL for short, is a drop-in peer assisted learning help center. Typically, this service is offered in person on the 4th floor of the Western Student Services building, but while classes are offered primarily online, this drop-in support is being run virtually and accessible off of our learning.uwo.ca webpage. The PAL Center is peer-run, meaning that trained upper year students offer both general learning skills help, for example, helping you develop better time management skills, note-taking skills, and studying strategies, as well as course-specific help related to the content of your courses. We also offer one-on-one appointments, which offer individualized learning support with a counselor or math and science learning specialist. Each appointment is 50 minutes long and needs to be pre-booked by contacting learning@uwo.ca. Learn to Thrive is a 10-week program aimed at helping students learn to thrive at university. Each week of the program covers a new thriving skill, for example, resilience, finding school and life balance, optimism, and grit, as well as a learning skill like time management, test taking, etc. Learn to Thrive is for students who have completed at least one term of university learning. We also offer a wide variety of online resources on our website, including presentations like these, as well as a series of handouts and learning resources on a wide variety of learning topics. Details on all of these resources and services are available on our website, learning.uwo.ca. All right, let's get started with our topic, writing multiple choice tests. By the end of this presentation today, you should be able to identify 3 key factors that influence success on multiple choice exams, recognize common types of multiple choice questions, identify different methods to solve common types of multiple choice questions, identify the sequence of steps in the step-by-step approach to solving multiple choice questions, identify different reading strategies to read and understand multiple choice questions, and identify strategies to control memory recall during a multiple choice test. There are 3 important factors that can influence your success on a multiple choice exam, including strong test writing strategies, effective preparation, and skills to manage test stress. Today's presentation will focus on helping you develop strong test writing strategies. For more information about effectively preparing for tests and developing skills to manage test stress, please refer to our other presentations online. Preparing for a multiple choice test is different than preparing for an essay exam. Multiple choice tests ask students to recognize a correct answer among a set of options that include incorrect answers, rather than asking the student to produce a correct answer entirely from their own mind. Multiple choice tests require students to recall information based on key words and ideas, place the material in the course, apply concepts, it's more than memory, narrow down the alternatives, make a choice, and require careful reading and concentration. It's helpful to be able to distinguish between 3 common types of multiple choice questions: simple fact recall, comprehension and basic application, and complex application. So what are simple fact recall questions? Well, most simply, they ask students to recognize or identify a fact. Specifically, they may ask you to recall and recognize specific information that you learned in your course. This could include basic facts, concepts, and methods, and they may ask you to be able to identify and define key terminology. Here is an example of a simple fact recall question asking students to be able to recall information they have learned about the 4 basic goals of psychology and choose the correct answer. This is also an example of a negative option question, in which you're being asked to look for the wrong answers instead of looking for matching answers. This is why it is so important to read the question very carefully. To handle a negative option question, try turning the question into a true or false prompt and eliminate the options. Based on this, the false answer is the correct option. What are comprehension and simple application questions? These are interpretive questions that can require students to use their base of knowledge to interpret data or other information and come to some conclusion. Specifically, these questions may involve knowing the broader meaning and implications of information, understanding and comparing facts and predicting outcomes, and or solving problems or applying a known concept to a new situation. Here is an example of a comprehension and simple application question. Students are being asked to use their base of knowledge about theories of temperament development and apply it in a new situation. An application question tests depth of knowledge. You need to recall some definitions, but you also need to be able to visualize how they can be applied to real-life situations. Complex application questions are problem-solving items requiring students to assess a situation, synthesize this with information from their base of knowledge, and then correctly solve a problem or make a decision. Specifically, these questions may require students to examine all of the parts that make up a whole and predict an outcome to a complex system, link knowledge from different sources to create or come up with a new understanding of a complex idea, or decide based on the data provided if the conclusions are valid. These questions often require integration of knowledge and decision making. Here is an example of a complex application question in which we are being asked to solve a problem by synthesizing the information about the student's injuries with what we have learned about different types of injuries and corresponding first aid treatments, and then making a decision about which first aid steps should be administered. This type of question may cover material learned over 1 or more lectures, forcing the student to have to integrate knowledge from multiple sources in order to solve the problem correctly. This is also an example of a multiple option question in which more than one option could be correct. Ensure that you read each of the options and check if they are correct. If more than one option is correct, the answer could be a combination of options. Let's talk now about specific strategies for writing multiple choice tests. Let's start with the step-by-step approach. While there isn't a right or wrong way to navigate a multiple choice test, having a strategy to navigate multiple choice questions can help you feel more confident and reassured that you are using your critical thinking and problem solving skills. First, cover up the possible answers or alternatives before you read the question. This helps you focus on the question and more accurately retrieve the correct information. Then read the stem of the question. This is a statement that asks the question. Take time to process this information. What is it asking? Can you recall learning this information in the course? When? Don't hesitate to make jot notes in the margin, if permissible, to help you retrieve information. Try predicting a possible answer before revealing the alternatives. This isn't always possible, depending on how the question is asked, but it is a good place to start. Double check the format of the question. Is this a negative option question? I.e., should you be looking for false information? Maybe it's a multiple option question. Then review each of the possible answers or alternatives. If you were able to predict a response, do you see it listed? Cross off those responses you know aren't correct. Once you have identified the correct response, read it back in the context of the question to double check that you have responded to the question asked. One of the mistakes that students often make is identifying correct information that they may have learned in the course and the possible answers, but failing to recognize that it doesn't answer the question asked in the STEM. Let's try the step-by-step approach with this question. First, try covering up the alternatives. Then read the stem of the question. Take time to process the stem. Highlight or underline key words or phrases as needed to help you stay focused. Try predicting a possible answer. Use margin notes to help you retrieve accurate information. Double check the format of the question. This question, for example, has look-alike options in which all of the options do look very similar. Then identify the differences between each option and eliminate the incorrect ones. Identify the correct response, and don't forget to reread the question and check your answer in the context of the question. Another important strategy for writing multiple choice tests is to ensure that you read the questions very carefully. Read the question in its entirety before looking ahead to the possible answer. You may read the first few words or sentences of a question and think that you know what it's asking and feel inclined to jump ahead to choosing an answer, but don't do this. Read and reread the question. You may need to read it several times in order to fully process what it is asking. Also, read every answer option prior to choosing a final answer. This may seem like a no-brainer, but it is a common mistake that students can make. If you quickly assume that you know the correct answer without first reading every answer option, you may end up not selecting the best answer. Let's look at this question together. This is a wordy question, and there is quite a bit of information here to read through and process. Try circling and underlining key words or phrases to help you focus on the important information and identify what is really being asked of you. Don't forget to read and reread the question. After you've selected an answer, read it back in the context of the question to make sure that it makes sense and that it is the best possible answer to the question. As we've noticed in some of our examples so far, some questions will contain qualifying words, such as not, for example. Remember that negative option question we looked at? These are words that alter the statement of the question. Pay careful attention to these, as they can make the options on a test question be a correct or incorrect option. Keep track of qualifiers by circling those that appear in both the questions and the response options. In this example, we've circled our qualifying word to help us stay focused on the best possible answer. If we miss this qualifying word, it would completely change how we processed and responded to this question, leading us to an incorrect response. A multiple choice test is basically a recognition test. The information to be recalled is present, along with attractive alternatives. The task of recognition is to select the correct answer from among the alternatives. In order to do this effectively and not be distracted by the attractive alternative answers, you need to be able to effectively control your memory recall of course material. As you process the test question, try drawing quick diagrams or pictures that you may recall from your studying or that help you organize the information in the question. In this example, a student has used a tree diagram to help organize the information from the question and determine the number of possible sequences of draws that can occur. Another way to control your memory recall is to pick out key words from the question and use this to help you focus on when, for example, in which lecture or activity you learned information associated with those key words. In general, you may be better able to invoke your memory of a certain topic if you can recall the experience or time when you learned it. Watch out for distractors. These are extraneous bits of information that might distract you from the real purpose or ask of the question. Try crossing out these distractors and underline the key points to help you maintain focus. There are certain types of multiple choice questions in which you can use logical techniques to work through the possible answers. You should never rely solely, though, on specific techniques to answer multiple choice questions, as you need to be well prepared for your tests and be able to actively recall accurate information. The following example will highlight a complex multiple choice item in which the alternatives consist of different combinations of options in list form. In this question, the student quickly identifies that the appendicular skeleton does not contain ribs and therefore can cross off options A and D, and then continues to work through the question in this way until the student is left with the correct answer. A more thorough approach to this question would involve reading the question carefully, reading each alternative, then using a quick sketch or diagram to try to think of the correct answer before going through each alternative in more detail. Other types of multiple choice questions in which you can use a logical technique are what we often refer to as multiple option questions. In this type of multiple option question, more than one option could be correct. Ensure that you read each of the options, statement number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, and check to see if they are correct. If more than one of the options is correct, the answer could be a combination of options as indicated. When writing multiple choice tests, try to avoid eliminating answers because they seem too simple to be the correct answer, being wowed by fancy words or jargon, selecting an alternative because you recognize it as having been taught in class or in the text. It could be a true statement, but it might not answer the question. Or selecting an alternative just because it seems to be a sensible answer. You really need to know your course knowledge and not just rely on your general knowledge or past experience with a subject. As with any test, you need to be able to manage your time so that you can work through all of the questions in an efficient and thorough manner. If you can, preview the test before you begin. Give some thought to approximately how much time you can spend on each section or question according to the number of marks it's worth. Try to leave time at the end of the test or exam to return to unfinished questions or check over questions that you felt unsure about. Work quickly and skip questions that you can't answer right away. Cross out options as you go that are obviously wrong to save you time when you return to that question later on. And of course, take care of yourself. If you are not well rested, you may have a difficult time performing on your test or exam. Try to get a good night's sleep before your test. Eat well, keep up with your exercise routines, drink lots of water, and relax. Take a deep breath and remember all of the preparation you have done. Here are some additional resources that we encourage you to review as you work to enhance your test-taking skills. For more information on this topic or other learning-related topics, please visit us online at learning.uwo.ca.